Coming up on Mountain News this morning, an Eastern Kentucky community says goodbye to a beloved healthcare worker, and as COVID-19 cases continue to spread across the Commonwealth, making colleges push back the start of the spring semester.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning again to you. It's just before 6 o'clock on this Thursday morning. I'm Dakota Makris. Thanks so much for waking up with us. And let's take a look at that forecast with Brandon. Brandon, calm right now. I guess kind of the calm before the storm.
Literally.
You are kind of preparing for this weekend. But right now, I guess it's still kind of foggy outside. I haven't had the chance to look at it. So.
Yep, exactly. It was basically, I left my house in Letcher County this morning, Dakota, got about a mile down the road, and it was foggy from that point all the way to Hazard. I mean, there were spots where it was less foggy, but I mean, literally through 3 different counties, it was pretty much foggy all the way. So just be careful out there this morning. Give yourself plenty of time to get around. Let's take a look at the last few hours there on the satellite radar. It was raining there for a little while, but that cold front got out of here a little bit earlier than expected, so might even see some clearing skies behind that fog this morning. We'll see how that works out. Live pinpoint Doppler radar, clean sweeps for the moment. We'll expect that to stay that way throughout today. Fog really dense out there in some spots this morning, and that trend continues to drift further south. This is not just higher or lower elevations, it's higher elevations too, so keep an eye on that. Temperatures in the 40s and 50s as you head out the door this morning, so cooler than it has been, but still above average. 45 the average high, 63 the forecast high, the record 68 set back on this day in 1990. Dakota?
All right, Brennan, thank you. Well, visitation for legendary banjo player J.D. Crowe was held yesterday. His visitation was at the Jessamine Christian Church. Now, his funeral is today at 1 at the same location. Crowe began his bluegrass career in the 1950s with the Sunny Mountain Boys. He later formed the Kentucky Mountain Boys. In 1971, he changed the name of the group to the New South, which many consider one of the most influential bluegrass groups. He was 84 years old. The funeral was held yesterday for a doctor who was remembered for not only the work he did in the medical field, but the care that he had for the mountains he called home. Our buddy Forbes has more as colleagues remember Dr. Mike Goble.
Those who love him say Dr. Michael Goble was Floyd County's doctor.
When one of our friends, our colleagues, our leaders passes untimely like this, it leaves a mark on all of us.
With a dedication and determination that is unrivaled, fueled by compassion.
Not long after he found out that he had pancreatic cancer, I had a little problem with my heart. And that night he was calling to check on me, and that's just the kind of person that he was.
A man rooted in changing and saving lives in his mountain community.
This was Mike's culture, and those were Dr. Goble's patients, and he was just an absolute pillar of our medical staff, and you won't be able to replace that.
Dr. Goble died Thursday, but his community will not remember the cancer that took him. They will remember the man who brought them through so much.
People rallied behind him because you lead by example, and Dr. Goble led by example.
From his family practice work at Prestonsburg Primary Care to his work at Appalachian Hospice.
You didn't have to ask Mike to help you. He always, he volunteered.
To the role he took in establishing and leading the Highlands ARH COVID team.
He was just a true hero amongst us, and we will miss him.
But his legacy is more than healthcare.
There'll be no replacing Dr. Goble.
It is the heart he shared. In Prestonsburg, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
Doctors say Goble could have chosen anywhere to serve and practice medicine, but he wanted to be home, and now they plan to make sure his home always remember his name. Well, at Baptist Health Richmond, healthcare workers are already seeing more COVID hospitalizations than last January, and they are expecting this surge to get worse. Hospital officials report seeing more patients in the ER test positive for the virus, but they are also seeing more young people get sick, as young as 20 years old. Unlike many hospitals across the Commonwealth, Baptist Health Richmond is fully staffed, but officials are prepared to make changes if a COVID influx arrives.
We have leadership and ancillary staff and nurses that are in professional roles who are ready, educated, and can jump in and help if necessary.
Well, the hospital also created more rooms for COVID patients. Governor Andy Beshear says the positivity rate continues to increase and believes it is now clear that Kentucky is in the surge from the Omicron variant. Yesterday's positivity rate reached a new record for the year. The state reported 5,530 new cases, bringing our case total to more than 850,000. Now, we had 21 new deaths as well, putting the Commonwealth's death toll at 12,118. The positivity rate is now at 14.46%. There are also now more than 2.5 million Kentuckians now vaccinated. Now, you can always find the latest COVID-19 information on our website at WYMT.com. As COVID-19 cases continue to climb across the country, new CDC guidance calls for people who are COVID positive to stay home for 5 days, regardless of vaccination status. They should then continue to wear a mask for another 5 days. A negative test is no longer recommended to end quarantine or isolation if a person is asymptomatic and doesn't have a fever. Washington News Bureau's David Aide speaks one-on-one with Dr. Anthony Fauci about what we are seeing with the Omicron variant and what the future of COVID might be.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says he sees a significant surge in new COVID cases in the next few weeks.
The somewhat encouraging news is that it appears, certainly from the South African experience and the UK experience, but we're starting to see inklings of that here in the United States, that it looks like it might be less severe.
Fauci believes we'll get to a point where COVID can be controlled, like a significant cold instead of something that's life-threatening.
I don't think we're going to eradicate COVID. We may not even eliminate it. I think that would be aspirational.
For now, Fauci says testing still plays a key role in trying to limit the spread, and so does knowing which test to take.
If I feel like I'm ill and I may have been exposed, I would want to get a PCR test. If I want to do surveillance, like I'm going to a dinner and I'm vaccinated and I want to make doubly certain that I'm not asymptomatically bringing infection into someone's home, then that's where you have an antigen test is of value.
As for big New Year's Eve parties with strangers, Fauci recommends to skip them. In Washington, I'm David Aide.
Johns Hopkins University reports that new cases per day have more than doubled during the past 2 weeks, eclipsing the old mark of 250,000 set in mid-January. Well, in the state's largest city, Louisville, COVID cases have more than tripled in the last week. Meanwhile, some universities across the country are delaying their spring semester because of this surge. Now, the surge is impacting many communities in concerning ways. In Cincinnati, a state of emergency was issued over shortages within the fire department. Some firefighters out with COVID was a factor.
I declared the emergency, in part to let everyone know, once again, that this is a serious crisis and that people should monitor their own personal health risks.
Now, a spokesperson for the University of Kentucky says they still plan to start on January 10th, but can pivot if necessary. Now, Reed Elliott is an 11-year-old Corbin native. He has had cancer twice and is known as a presidential expert. Old Soul and Loretta Lynn fan. WYMT's Jade Saylor caught up with the young boy about his recent trip to LA to be on The Ellen Show.
Reed Elliott landed a spot on The Ellen Show for his unique story and many passions.
We talked about presidents, how I had cancer, how I'm an old soul, and my love for Loretta Lynn.
To his surprise, Loretta Lynn shared his interview from the show to her Facebook page.
I saw Loretta Lynn's post, and then it said, "Here's our little friend Reed on the Ellen DeGeneres Show." I was like, "Mom, Dad!" And then I showed them, and we was at a restaurant yesterday, and I showed them, and it was really cool. And I was like over the moon.
Reed is considered a presidential expert, and his American flag suit has become a staple in his wardrobe.
In 2019, I was running a presidential birthday party, so we was looking for presidential birthday stuff. Then the suit came up, and I said, "I want that suit."
Macy Hensley is another kid presidential expert that has been on The Ellen Show in the past. She and Reed have talked on the phone, but never met. Guest host JoJo Siwa said she thought they might like to.
"Macy, come on out." Oh my gosh. And it was like, is this really happening? Am I about to meet Macy Hensley? And then now we're good friends and we're running together in 2048.
About 75 friends and family members joined Reed at the movie theater in Corbin to watch him star on The Ellen Show this week.
Yeah, every time I showed up on the screen, everyone was like, woo-hoo, go Reed!
Reed said it was truly the experience of a lifetime. In Corbin, Jade Saylor, WIMT Mountain News.
Man, and I thought I had a lot of energy. Guest host JoJo Siwa recently launched her Childhood Cancer Foundation. She was able to reward Reed and his family with $10,000 on the show, which Reed said was probably his favorite part of the day.
What a cool story there. I'm glad that he got the chance to do that. 6:10 this morning, we're tracking again possibility for some wet roads out there and some fog. We'll go to Norton this morning and you see US 23. A little busier than we usually see at this time of the day, but not too bad over there. Not too much fog, at least at that point over there. So it's around a lot of the other areas this morning, that's for sure. Temperatures mainly in the 50s with the exception of Moorhead and Ashland at 46 and 47 respectively. It's a little colder everywhere though today, with the exception of London, Monticello, Williamsburg, and Wise, where they are exactly where they were yesterday. 63, our forecast high today, and we see clearing skies there later on. And for the headlines for the rest of the week, basically new year, new front. That's going to lead to a severe weather alert day tomorrow morning. Doesn't start today, but tomorrow morning. Saturday storms, they could pack a punch. It could be on the stronger side for sure. And a possible wintry finish to the weekend as we head into the first days of the new year. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you so much. Well, when we come back, an incident at a Florida zoo leaves one man seriously injured. We'll have those details coming up next.